Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kendra Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have an anonymous female left behind spouse. Her bomb drop was 5 years ago, June of 2017. Her date of marriage is 2009. She has a clinging boomerang who is a high energy replayer. She says we had been together for 22 years at bomb drop, and bomb drop was 5 years ago. He left immediately and got a flat with the alienator. He still comes here twice a week to see our son. Our son now refuses to go to his flat. He continues to play happy family. He still financially supports us. And 2 years ago during the lockdown, he was here a lot. I thought we were reconnecting. We were being intimate. But it appears not. He's definitely a cake eater. I agree. Yes, he's definitely a cake eater. You're right, clinging boomerang. And I admit it's more than likely my fault for having weak boundaries. I heard from a mutual friend a couple of months ago whom I hadn't spoken with in ages. He said that she had seen him. The pronouns are odd. He said she, but he had said she'd seen him, and he stayed with us. So the friend, I can't tell since it's a he and a she, it sounds like it's the same person though. So the friend said that he saw the MLCer, and the MLCer had said that he missed them both terribly and was miserable. So both terribly, mom and, or wife and son, and his son. And he was miserable, yet I've just heard that he's cheating on the alienator with not one, but two other women. I'm fuming. I went off on him and sent him an angry text. I couldn't help it. And many truth darts. He said it was lies. He wasn't seeing them. The only liar is him. I trust the people I heard it from, and they saw it with their own eyes. My question is, how do I handle this? I told my husband this. I don't want the bare minimum. I'm not interested in half-assed. I make you a priority always, and I'm treated like an option. I want it all, and I deserve that. You know I love you, but I have to do this. He said, you deserve better than me. When I got back from work as his day, it was his day to have son. He was there. I was nice, but didn't do anything for him. And then he went to sleep on our sofa. Maybe this was a push, but I feel it needed to be said. Had truth darts, and I needed to stick to it. Did I do the right thing? Yeah, you did. You did. I know when you say you texted him, you couldn't help it. There's an appropriate time for going off, going into what you might call bitch mode. Sometimes we think of it as falling off the tightrope if we go even too far, but sometimes these things need to be said. The air clearing, whatever it is. Yes, you did. The problem is that we're not sure, and he's not sure, and he doesn't think you're going to stick to anything. Because, look, you sent that text, and when you got there, he was there. You were nice, but you didn't do anything for him. Okay, you didn't do anything for him. And then he went to sleep on the sofa. You allowed that. So you might not have set a boundary saying you can't do certain things like be at the house or stay over or, just hang out like it's your home. But those need to be the boundaries. And there are certain boundaries that if you set them, they're just not important. I mean, it's like, yeah, but she lets me do this. So what does it matter? And that's where you are right now, is he needs to see son somewhere else. He really does. And you could try it. I don't like this idea. You could try it that you're not there when he sees him. But if you do that, I want you to be there right before that, and him to know that you're leaving and walking out specifically to not be around him, which means you could pass him as you leave. The problem with that is if you aren't able to handle passing him with your leave with a stern look and go, see you later, bye, have fun with him. I mean, I don't want it to be no emotion. I want it to be almost an angry emotion. Not an outrage, because that's out of control. The problem is, some of your text had things like questions. Let me look at this again. You went off on him, sent an angry text, had many truth darts, lies. You said, I'm not being your bitch, but I am not doing all the wifey stuff. We're currently, you decided you don't think I'm good enough. Here's it is, the question. And I know it's a rhetorical question, but what is the point in pretending to be one? You don't think I am good enough. So is it the point in being a family, being a wife? And I know, or it would be nice to have the answer, but you don't expect an answer. But let's try to refrain from questions that are what and why, especially why. And see if you can phrase the exact same thing without it being a question. Instead, you say, right now, there is no point in us trying to be a family. You don't ask him. And if you do ask him, you need to ask him in a way that he does feel that there's an answer that he can work on. How are we supposed to be a family when you're doing this? Because that how question doesn't have a yes/no answer. The question, what is the point? It could be, oh, there isn't one. Or it can have an expansion. But the question could be, there's no point. Or I don't know how to answer that. He doesn't know how to answer the how question either. But it does, the framing, if you did ask it in a how sort of way, does invite a bigger answer, a deeper answer. And so he would have to not answer, but think about it at least if he's going to. I would rather right now you just make a statement out of those instead of questions. Did you do the right thing? I don't know if you did the right thing if you're not going to follow through with your bitch mode. If you're not being a bitch, okay, I'm not being a bitch, you meant now. But here's what I want it to be. I'm not being your bitch anymore. Now, if you're not going to be his bitch anymore, what are you going to be? What are you going to do? How does this change anything? The problem that we have sometimes with these vent mode, bitch mode, air clearing episodes is as soon as they're done, you lift up the rug and sweep it all back under there again. And then it does nothing. Then what was the point? So it doesn't mean anything unless this activates you, unless it sets in motion the boundaries that you need, sets in motion. You stay in that vent bitch mode. That doesn't mean you're not going to be calm and gracious. I love calm and gracious. And the reason is because it's the right thing to do. It's how we treat people. It's not because, well, they don't deserve it and so we shouldn't be that way. Or somebody does deserve it and so we should be that way. My philosophy of life is there are certain things that we do because they're the right thing to do, regardless of other people's behaviors. It's love your neighbor. It's agape, unconditional love, that sort of thing. But those things come with boundaries. So that's what I want you to work on, is now that you've done this, what does it mean in action and in relationship, in what he's allowed to do? Because yes, he's cake eating, and you're right. It's because of the boundaries, because if we allow them, then they're going to do it. And so you've taught him how to treat you. And now you're going to have to work to undo some of those things. And of course, he's an MLCer, he's abused that. They do. But you're still teaching him. So I want you to figure out what boundaries that vent meant you need to apply. And then you talk to him about, here's what we need to do. Because like I said the other day, this needs to change. It's not working. And I don't really want him having access to your house. I want it when he chooses to be an appropriate spouse. I've always not liked the language of it because it's so clinical, but I can't think of a better way to say that idea, that concept. So if you have a better way, go for it. But you choose to be an appropriate husband. And if they need it, appropriate means this. It doesn't mean living at home right now. It doesn't mean not. But it means you don't have any other women. You get rid of all of them. You have no contact with any of the ones that you have had inappropriate contact with in the past. No women on the side. Doesn't mean you don't get to see your cousin because she's female or something. It doesn't mean that you don't have a female boss. We know those things. They don't need to be said. But anyone with whom you have had some type of affair, some type of inappropriate, intimate relationship, such as if you've gone on a date and it wasn't a blind date and the poor woman just got set up, and you've tried to date these women and there was an emotional bond or an emotional bond starting, cut it off. You can't have any relationships. And you know this. It's 5 years in. Just because you say it and they say they've done it doesn't mean it's done. And if you're in the right frame, it doesn't mean it's an additional betrayal when it's not done and they've lied about it, because it's all part of the same betrayal. I want you to lower your expectations for him right now. Now we're going to raise those expectations as they get close. When you're fully reconciled, yeah, they're up there. But I want you to recognize they're still in these jagged breakup periods, and it's back and forth. And if they're not out of MLC, they're not going to have the full capacity they need to. So I don't like saying be gentle with them. I want you to hold their feet to the fire, but I want you to be gentle with your heart. I want you to protect that by having the expectation of he's not going to be doing this perfectly, and I'm not going to, if he says he's done, I'm not going to fully trust that. I am going to proceed with caution and be wary. But you need to figure out the boundaries you need to set. And some of them have to be about contact, limited to no contact. And that means access to other things like the house, even if you're not there, if that's possible. Okay, I hope this was helpful, and I'll see everybody in the next question.